The gunshot victim arrived at 2:47 a.m., bleeding out on a gurney surrounded by federal agents in black suits. The ER nurses froze. The doctors shouted orders. But Sarah Miller, the quiet night nurse, everyone ignored, stepped forward without hesitation. Her hands moved with a precision that didn't belong in a civilian hospital. The lead agent's eyes locked onto the thin scar on her neck. His face went pale. He whispered something into his radio. Within minutes, the building was surrounded. What none of them knew was that Sarah Miller wasn't just a nurse, and the man bleeding on that table wasn't just a patient. Asterisk, the fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Sarah's hands were steady as she assessed the wound. Entry point just below the left clavicle, no exit wound. The bullet was still inside. Dr. Marcus Chen burst through the trauma bay doors. He was the senior attending, arrogant, dismissive of nurses. Especially her. "What do we have?" He barked. "Single GSW to the chest," Sarah reported. "Possible pneumothorax. BP dropping. He needs a chest tube now, I can see that, Nurse Miller." His voice dripped with condescension. "Why don't you let the doctors handle this?" Sarah stepped back. Her jaw tightened, but she said nothing. The patient's eyes fluttered open. He looked directly at Sarah. His lips moved. "Charlie 7. Tango." She froze. That was a military call sign. One she hadn't heard in years. Dr. Chen didn't notice. He was too busy ordering unnecessary scans. The man's oxygen saturation was plummeting. Sarah could see the tension pneumothorax developing. His trachea was deviating. He had minutes. "Doctor, he needs immediate decompression," I said. "Step back, Miller." The patient coded. The monitor screamed. Flatline, Dr. Chen's face went white. He fumbled with the crash cart. His hands shook as he tried to intubate. He missed once. Twice, Sarah made a decision. She pushed past him. Her hands moved on autopilot. She grabbed the scalpel from the tray and made a precise incision between the ribs. No hesitation. No second guessing. She inserted the chest tube with a practiced ease that made the surgical. Residents stare. Air hissed out of the chest cavity. The monitor beeped. Once. Twice. The patient's heart rate stabilized. Dr. Chen stared at her. "What? How did you?" The lead federal agent stepped into the room. He was tall. Military bearing. His eyes swept the scene and landed on Sarah. "Everyone out," he said. It wasn't a request. "This is my trauma bay," Dr. Chen protested. "You can't." The agent's hand went to his weapon. "Everyone. Out. Now." The nurses scattered. Dr. Chen backed toward the door, his eyes still on Sarah. When the room cleared, the agent approached. He was staring at her neck, at the thin white scar that ran from her ear to her collarbone. "Kandahar?" he asked quietly. Sarah's face remained neutral. "I'm just a nurse. Nurses don't perform emergency thoracotomies without blinking." He glanced at the patient. "And they definitely don't recognize classified call signs." Sarah said nothing. The agent keyed his radio. "This is Agent Morrison. I need a full lockdown. No one in or out. And get me a secure line to Langley now, if you want to know what happens next. Subscribe now, because this story is about to take a turn that will change everything." Outside, red and blue lights were beginning to fill the parking lot. Sirens wailed in the distance. Sarah watched through the window as black SUVs formed a perimeter around the hospital. Her past had finally caught up with her, and the night was just beginning. Asterisk. The hospital administrator arrived within minutes. Gerald Hoffman, 52 years old. He wore expensive suits and treated nurses like furniture. "What is the meaning of this?" he demanded, pushing past Agent Morrison. "You can't lock down my hospital without Morrison held up a badge. Not FBI, not local police. Something else entirely." The seal was one Sarah recognized. Defense Intelligence Agency. Hoffman's protest died in his throat. "We have a national security situation," Morrison said flatly. "This facility is now under federal jurisdiction. All communications are suspended. No one leaves until I say so. In the trauma bay, Sarah was keeping the patient stable. His vitals were improving, but his eyes kept finding hers. He was trying to tell her something. She leaned closer, checked his the fourth, whispered without moving her lips. Who sent you? His voice was barely audible. Scorpion. Her blood went cold. Scorpion was a ghost, myth, an operative so deep in the black world that even intelligence agencies weren't sure he existed. She'd worked with him once, 5 years ago, in a desert compound that officially never happened. If Scorpion had sent this man to her hospital, something had gone catastrophically wrong. Dr. Chen appeared in the doorway. His face was red with indignation. Nurse Miller, you are suspended effective immediately. That stunt you pulled performing a surgical procedure without authorization saved his life, Sarah finished. Her voice was calm, cold. You violated protocol. You're a nurse, not a surgeon. I'm reporting you to the licensing board. Agent Morrison stepped between them. Doctor, leave now. You can't tell me. Morrison's hand moved to his sidearm. Not threatening, just present. And I am, Chen left. But his eyes promised retribution. Sarah turned back to her patient. How many are coming? Don't know, he breathed. They hit the safe house. Took out the entire team. I barely made it out. They're cleaning up loose ends. Who? Can't trust anyone. His eyes closed. Not from injury. From fear. Sarah's mind raced. If a wet work team was operating on American soil, hunting down intelligence assets, then someone very high up had ordered it. Someone with the power to erase people. To cover tracks, her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. They know who you are. Get him out. Trust no one. Scorpion Morrison's radio crackled. Sir, we have a situation. 3 vehicles approaching. No plates. They're not responding to our checkpoint. Sarah looked at the window. 3 black vans. Moving fast. Morrison saw them too. His face hardened. Get a trauma team in here. We're moving the patient too. The first explosion shook the building. The lights flickered. Car alarms screamed in the parking lot. Smoke billowed from the east entrance. Morrison drew his weapon. They're breaching. Get down. But Sarah didn't get down. She moved to the supply cabinet, pushed aside boxes of gauze and syringes. Her fingers found the hidden latch. A section of the cabinet swung open. Inside was a go bag. Black tactical gear. A suppressed Glock 19 and a phone with 1 contact saved. Morrison stared. What the hell? Sarah's voice changed. The soft nurse accent disappeared. What replaced it was clipped. Military command. Agent Morrison, you have approximately 2 minutes before they breach this floor. Your men are trained for security, not combat. If you want your team to survive, you'll follow my orders. Understood? He hesitated. Looked at her. Really looked. At the way she moved. The way she assessed the room. The complete absence of fear. Who are you? Sarah strapped on the tactical vest. Chambered around. Someone who's done this before. Gunfire erupted on the floor below. The war had come to her hospital, and Sarah Miller was done hiding. Asterisk. The screaming started on the 2nd floor. Sarah moved to the door. Cracked it open. The hallway was chaos. Nurses running. Doctors shouting. Patients in wheelchairs being evacuated and coming up the stairwellmen in tactical gear. Not police. Not FBI. Private contractors. The kind who got paid to make problems disappear. Morrison was on his radio. All units, we have hostile contact. Repeat. Hostile. The radio went dead. Jammed. Sarah grabbed the patient's gurney. We're moving now. Where? Morrison demanded. Somewhere they won't expect. She pushed the gurney into the hallway. Morrison and 2 of his agents followed. They moved against the tide of fleeing hospital staff. A nurse Sarah recognized, young, terrified, grabbed her arm. Sarah, what's happening? Get to the cafeteria. Lock the doors. Keep everyone quiet, but go. They reached the service elevator. Sarah swiped her badge. It didn't work. The hospital was in lockdown. All non-emergency access disabled. She didn't hesitate. Pulled out a multi-tool from her vest. Pried open the panel beside the elevator. Her fingers moved across the wiring with practiced precision. Morrison watched in disbelief. Where did you learn the elevator dinged? Doors opened. Get in. They descended. Not to the ground floor. To the basement. The old section of the hospital. Built in the 1960s during the Cold War. Most staff didn't even know it existed. The doors opened to darkness. Sarah pulled a flashlight from her vest. The beam cut through the shadows. Concrete walls. Outdated equipment, and at the far end a heavy steel door marked authorized personnel only. This way, Morrison's agents were getting nervous. One of them, a younger man with fresh academy training, had his weapon drawn. His hands were shaking. Ma'am, we should go back up. Regroup with the explosion above them. Cut him off. The ceiling shook. Dust rained down. Sarah opened the steel door. Inside was an old fallout shelter. Maps on the walls. Emergency supplies. And a tunnel. During the Cold War, this hospital was designated as a critical facility, she explained. They built evacuation routes. This tunnel leads to the parking structure 2 blocks away. Morrison stared. How do you know this? Sarah met his eyes. Because I helped design the security protocols for federal medical facilities 7 years ago. When I was still active in what? Before she could answer, gunfire echoed down the elevator shaft. Voices. Commands in Russian. Russian. Morrison's finger quotes. His face went pale. This is bigger than we thought. Sarah was already moving the patient into the tunnel. This was never about one wounded operative. Your man here has information. Something big enough that a foreign intelligence service is willing to commit an act of war on American soil to silence him. The patient's eyes opened. The files. I copied everything. Where are they? He tried to reach for something. His strength failed. Sarah caught his hand. Felt something small and hard pressed into her palm. A micro SD card. Get it? To command. Before he coughed. Blood on his lips. Sarah checked his vitals. The stress was causing internal bleeding. He was dying. Morrison, I need a field trauma kit. No, we don't have your men or die. You always carry field kits. Give it to me. He hesitated, then nodded to one of his agents. The man produced a compact medical pouch. Sarah went to work. Her hands moved with the speed and precision of a combat medic. For placement, pressure dressings. A dose of morphine to keep him stable. The patient's breathing steadied. Morrison watched her work. Realization dawning. You're not just a nurse. No, this isn't your first firefight. Not even close. Above them, the sounds of combat intensified. Automatic weapons fire screams. The hospital was turning into a war zone. Sarah finished stabilizing the patient. Turned to Morrison. Here's what's going to happen. You and your men are going to take him through that tunnel. There's a safe house on Brennan Street. Use the emergency code Victor Tango 7. They'll know what to do. What about you? Sarah checked her weapon. I'm going back up. That's suicide. Those are my colleagues up there. My patients. People I've worked with for 3 years. Her voice was steel. I'm not leaving them. Morrison studied her face. Saw something there that made him nod. What do you need? Time and a distraction. She handed him the micro SD card. Get this too, Langley. Whatever's on here, it's worth killing for. That makes it worth protecting. Morrison pocketed the card, extended his hand. Good luck, whoever you are. Sarah shook it. Captain Sarah Miller. United States Army Special Operations, retired. His eyes widened. Special Operations. But that would make you. The door at the top of the stairs exploded inward. Sarah didn't wait for him to finish. She moved toward the sound of gunfire. Toward the enemy. Toward the life she thought she'd left behind. Sarah. took the stairs 2 at a time. The smell hit her first. Cordite, blood, the acrid burn of electrical fires. It was a smell she knew. A smell that brought back memories of Kabul, of Mosul, of places that didn't exist on any official map. She reached the second-floor landing, cracked the door, peered through. 4 hostels. Professional, moving in tactical formation. They were clearing rooms, executing anyone who might have seen their faces. Sarah's jaw tightened. She keyed the fire alarm with her elbow. The building erupted in sound. Sprinklers activated. Water cascaded from the ceiling. The hostels turned toward the noise. Sarah moved. 2 shots. Suppressed. Both headshots. The first 2 went down before the others could react. The third spun. Raised his weapon. Sarah was faster. 1 round to the chest. He dropped. The 4th was smarter. Dove behind a nurse's station. Returned fire. Rounds punched through drywall inches from Sarah's head. She dropped low, rolled, came up, behind a crash cart. The hostel was shouting into his radio. Russian. Reporting contact. Requesting backup. Sarah didn't give him the chance to finish. She kicked the crash cart. It rolled forward. The hostel fired. Rounds sparked off metal. Sarah used the sound to mask her movement. Flanked right. Came around the corner. He never saw her. For down. She moved through the floor. Room by room. Found nurses huddled in a supply closet. Terrified. One of them was crying. Stay here. Stay quiet. Don't open the door for anyone except police.
Sarah would stay here.
Found Dr. Chen in a patient room. He was on the floor, hands over his head. A hostel stood over him, weapon aimed at his skull. The hostel was speaking, accented English. Where's the patient from Trauma Bay 3? Chun's voice shook. I don't know. The agents took him. I'm just a doctor. I don't. Sarah's shot took the hostel in the side of the head. Chen screamed. Sarah grabbed him, pulled him up. How many staff are still on this floor? He couldn't speak. He was staring at the body. At the blood, Sarah shook him, hard. Dr. Chen, focus. How many? Tien, maybe 12. Some locked themselves in the ICU. Good, stay with them. Barricade the door. She pushed him toward the ICU. He stumbled, looked back at her. You're not a nurse, he whispered. No, I'm not. She left him there. Moved toward the sound of voices. Russian commands. They were regrouping on the 3rd floor. Setting up a command post. Sarah found a stairwell, climbed. Her phone buzzed. Morrison. Package secure. Backup inbound. ETA. 8 minutes. 8 minutes. A lifetime in combat. She reached the 3rd floor. The door was blocked. Furniture piled against it. The hostels had fortified. Sarah smiled. They were thinking defensively. That meant they were rattled. She doubled back. Found a maintenance access. Crawled through ventilation shafts. Her hands and knees scraped against metal. Dust choked her lungs. She emerged in a ceiling panel above their command post. For more hostels, tactical gear, encrypted radios, and something else, a laptop. They were uploading data, trying to transmit before backup arrived. Sarah didn't have time for subtlety. She dropped through the ceiling panel, landed in a crouch, weapon up. 3 shots. 3 down. The 4th dove for cover. Returned fire. Sarah felt a round graze her shoulder. Burning pain? She ignored it. Advanced. Fired twice more. He fell. Sarah grabbed the laptop. Pulled the hard drive. Smashed it against the floor. Again, until silicon and circuitry scattered like confetti. Her shoulder was bleeding. Not bad, through and through. She'd had worse. She heard boots. More of them. Coming from both stairwells, she was boxed in. Sarah moved to the window. Looked out. 3 stories up. Below, a section of roof. Maybe 8 feet drop. She didn't hesitate. Went through the window. Glass shattered. She rolled on the roof. Came up running. Behind her, The hostiles breached the room. Saw the broken window? Shouted commands. Sarah reached the edge of the roof. Jumped. Landed on an adjacent building. 1 story lower. Her ankle screamed. She pushed through the pane, found a fire escape. Descended. Hit the ground just as police cruisers flooded the parking lot. Real police this time, SWAT, hostage rescue, and 3 black helicopters. Unmarked military from the lead helicopter. Figure descended, tall, ramrod straight. 4 stars on his shoulder boards. A general. Sarah stumbled toward the perimeter. A paramedic tried to stop her. "Ma'am, you're bleeding. I'm fine." She pushed past. Walked toward the command post they were setting up. The general saw her. His eyes widened. He strode forward. Hospital staff were being evacuated. Dr. Chen was among them. He saw Sarah. Saw the general approaching her. Saw what happened next. The general stopped 3 feet from Sarah. A hush fell over the command post. Every soldier, every agent, watching the general's hand snap to his forehead. A salute. Perfect. Crisp. Respectful. "Colonel Miller," he said. His voice carried across the parking lot. "It's good to see you again." Dr. Chen's jaw dropped. Sarah returned the salute, exhausted, bleeding, but standing tall. "General Patterson, wish it was under better circumstances. When have our circumstances ever been good?" A slight smile. "I hear you saved one of our best operators tonight. Just doing my job, sir." "Your job." He glanced at the hospital. At the broken windows. The smoke. "Colonel, you've been retired for what, 3 years?" "4, sir." "And in 4 years, you take down an entire Russian hit squad, alone, while protecting civilian staff." He shook his head. "Some people never stop serving." The medical staff were staring. Nurses Sarah had worked with for years. Doctors who'd dismissed her. Administrator Hoffman, who treated her like hired help. All of them seeing her for the first time. Not as a nurse, as a soldier. Asterisk. General Patterson gestured toward one of the mobile command units. "Walk with me, Colonel." Sarah followed. Her shoulder throbbed. Her ankle was swelling. But she kept her gait even. Military bearing? Old habits? Inside the command unit, analysts worked over computer screens. Satellite imagery. Radio intercepts. The full apparatus of American intelligence mobilized. Patterson closed the door. His face grew grave. "The operative you saved, Lieutenant Marcus Webb. He was working deep cover. Inside a Russian intelligence cell that's been operating on U.S. soil for 6 years? 6 years?" Sarah's eyes narrowed. "That's impossible. Our counterintelligence would have they had help. Someone on the inside. Someone high enough to blind our usual detection methods." Patterson pulled up a file on a tablet. Webb managed to copy their entire network before they burned him. Names, operations, compromat on U.S. officials. It's the biggest penetration of our government since the Cold War, Sarah understood. That's why they hit him so hard. They're trying to contain the damage. And they failed. Thanks to you. Patterson paused. The micro SD card Morrison extracted. We've already started making arrests. 3 congressmen, 2 Pentagon officials, and a federal judge. Sarah felt the weight of it. How deep does it go? Deep enough that we can't trust normal channels. That's why I'm here personally. He looked at her. Really looked. I need you back, Sarah. She stiffened. Sir, I'm retired. I did my 20 years. You saved 14 hospital staff tonight. Eliminated 9 trained operatives. Protected a critical intelligence asset. And you did it with a service weapon and a first aid kit. His voice was quiet, respectful. You're one of the best tactical operators I've ever seen. The Army needs people like you. The Army has people like me. Not anymore. Budget cuts. Talent drain. The special operations community is hemorrhaging experience. He set down the tablet. I'm not ordering you. I'm asking. We have a problem. A big one. And I need someone I can trust absolutely. Sarah looked out the window. At the hospital. Her hospital. Where she'd spent 4 years trying to be normal. Trying to be just Sarah, just a nurse? But normal people didn't drop through ceiling tiles to take on armed assault teams. Normal people didn't perform field surgery under fire. She'd been lying to herself, pretending she could leave the war behind. But the war had followed her home. "What would you need me to do?" she asked quietly. Patterson pulled up another file. Webb's intelligence identified a sleeper network. Russian agents embedded in critical infrastructure, power grids, water treatment, communication hubs. They're positioned to cripple the eastern seaboard. Sarah's blood went cold. When we don't know, but the Russian operative who led tonight's assault pulled his phone. He received a message 3 hours ago. One word, winter, an operation name or a timeline. Russian intelligence loves their symbolic timing. Winter starts in 10 months, Sarah finished. They're planning something for winter. When people are most vulnerable, when power outages could kill thousands. Patterson nodded. We need to roll up this network before they activate. But we can't do it officially. If we spook them, they'll scatter. Or worse, accelerate their timeline. You need a small team. Off the books? Deniable. I need you to build that team. Recruit, train, execute. Met her eyes. I need the Colonel Miller who ran operations in Kandahar. The one who turned a nurse's station into a hard point tonight. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. Outside, she could see her colleagues. Young nurses who looked up to her. Patients who trusted her. A life she'd built. Carefully, deliberately, a life that was a lie. I'll need full operational control, she said. No oversight. No committee decisions. Done. Unlimited budget. Access to any personnel I request. Within reason. No reason. I get who I want. Patterson smiled. It was a rare expression on his weathered face. I forgot how hard you negotiate. I learned from the best, sir. Your father would be proud. The words hit harder than she expected. Her father. General Marcus Miller. The man who'd taught her to shoot. To think tactically. Who'd died in Iraq when she was 19. The man whose legacy she'd been running from her entire career. When do I start? She asked. Yesterday would be preferable. Patterson extended his hand. Welcome back to the war, Colonel. She shook it. His grip was firm, respectful. When she stepped out of the command unit, Dr. Chen was waiting. Behind him, Administrator Hoffman and a dozen other hospital staff. Chen's face was a mixture of shock and something else. Respect, maybe, or fear. Colonel, he said. The word sounded strange in his mouth. Sarah looked at him. This man who'd belittled her, who'd questioned her competence, who'd threatened her license. Dr. Chen, I owe you an apology. I had no idea, you're right. You didn't. Her voice wasn't cruel, just factual. You saw a nurse? You assumed that was all I was. Hoffman stepped forward. His expensive suit was rumpled. His face was pale. Ms. Miller, or should I say, Colonel, the board will want to discuss your future with the hospital. Obviously, given tonight's events, I resign, Sarah said simply. Hoffman blinked. I'm sorry? Effective immediately. You'll have my formal letter in the morning. She started to walk away. Chen called after her. Sarah, wait. He ran to catch up. What you did tonight? You saved lives. Mine included. I wanted to say thank you. Dara stopped, turned, looked at this man who'd made her life difficult for 3 years. You're a good doctor, Chen, but you're arrogant. And that arrogance makes you sloppy. She glanced back at the hospital. The next time you dismiss someone because of their position, remember this night. Remember that the quiet nurse you ignored was the only thing standing between you and a bullet? She walked toward the military helicopter. Behind her, the hospital staff watched. The legend of the secret medic had just begun. 3 weeks later, the safe house was in rural Virginia. 30 acres of forest. No neighbors. No witnesses. Sarah stood in the briefing room. Around her, 5 faces. The team she'd assembled: Captain James Rodriguez, Marine Force Recon. Expert in urban combat. Sergeant First Class Maya Chin. Army Intelligence. Fluent in 7 languages, including Russian and Mandarin. Lieutenant Jake Morrison. The DA agent from the hospital. He'd requested reassignment to her unit, Dr. Elizabeth Park. Civilian contractor. Forensic analyst. The best Sarah had ever seen, and Master Sergeant Thomas Bear Williams. 62 years old? Retired Delta Force. The man who'd trained Sarah 20 years ago. Bear looked at her with pride. Never thought I'd see the day. You running your own operation? Never thought I'd be back in the field, Sarah admitted, and yet here you are. He grinned. Just like your old man. Can't stay away from the fight. Sarah pulled up a map on the briefing screen. Red dots scattered across the eastern seaboard. 47 locations. Each one a potential target. This is what we're up against, she said. A sleeper network. They've been in place for years, waiting. And now they're preparing to activate. Morrison studied the map. That's a lot of ground to cover, which is why we're not covering it all. Sarah zoomed in on 3 locations. These are the critical nodes. Take these out and the whole network collapses. Rodriguez leaned forward. What's the timeline? We have 8 months before winter. Maybe less if they accelerate. Sarah pulled up photos. These are our primary targets. Viktor Kozlov, Anna Petrov, Dmitry Volkov. All of them American citizens on paper. All of them trained by Russian intelligence. Maya Chen was already working her laptop. I can start building profiles. Track their movements, communications. Do it, but carefully. They're watching for surveillance. One wrong move, and they'll disappear. Dr. Park raised her hand. What's our legal authority here? Because from where I'm sitting, this sounds like it's not legal, Sarah said bluntly. None of this is. We're operating outside official channels. No warrants. No oversight. If we're caught, the government will disavow us. The room was quiet. So why are we doing it? Park asked. Sarah looked at each of them. Because no one else will. Because the official channels are compromised. Because if we fail, thousands of Americans die. I won't force anyone to stay. This is volunteer only. The door is right there. No one moved. Bear smiled. Hell, Colonel. I didn't come out of retirement to quit on day 1. Morrison nodded. I'm in. That bastard at the hospital? He killed 2 of my agents. I want payback. Rodriguez just cracked his knuckles. Let's hunt. Chen looked up from her laptop. Already started tracking Kozlov. He has a pattern. Every Tuesday, he visits a coffee shop in Alexandria. Same time, same table. Good. Sarah pulled up surveillance photos. We start there. Soft approach. Identify his contacts. Map his network. And then, Rodriguez asked. Sarah's eyes were cold, hard. The eyes of a soldier who'd seen too much. And then we dismantle them. One by one, until there's nothing left. The team got to work. Maps, files, equipment checks. Sarah stepped outside. The Virginia countryside was beautiful, peaceful, so different from the desert bases she'd called home for 20 years. Her phone buzzed. General Patterson. How's the team shaping up? Good, sir. We're ready to move. Glad to hear it. Because we have a problem. His voice was grim. We decoded more of Webb's intelligence. The winter operation. It's bigger than we thought. Sarah's stomach dropped. How big? Total infrastructure collapse. Power, water, communications, all of it. Coordinated across 12 states. He paused. Sarah, if they succeed, it's not just thousands dead. It's the collapse of civil order. Riots. Chaos. A humanitarian disaster that would make. Hurricane Katrina looked like a practice run. Timeline. Still unclear, but we're seeing increased activity. Encrypted communications. Movement of personnel. Patterson's voice hardened. Whatever they're planning, it's accelerating. Sarah looked back at the safe house. At her team. 5 people against a network that had taken years to build. Impossible odds. She smiled. She'd faced worse. "We'll stop them, sir. I know you will." Patterson paused. "Sarah, your father used to say something? Before every mission. I remember. What was it?" Sarah looked at the sky, remembered her father's voice. Strong. Certain. "Fear is temporary. Failure is permanent. Choose wisely." "He was right," Patterson said. "Good hunting, Colonel." The call ended. Sarah stood there for a moment, feeling the weight, the responsibility. Then she turned and walked back inside. Her team looked up. "Change of plans," Sarah said. "We're not starting with surveillance. We're going straight to hard contact." Rodriguez grinned. "Now you're speaking my language." Where Sarah pulled up a new file. "A warehouse in Baltimore. Intelligence says Kozlov is meeting his handler tomorrow night. Transferring equipment. We're going to be there." "To arrest him?" Morrison asked. "To send a message." Sarah's voice was ice. "They want a war on American soil. We'll give them one. But it'll be on our terms. With our rules." Bear stood. "What are the rules, Colonel?" Sarah looked at each of them. Her team, her soldiers, her family. "There's only one rule," she said. "We win." Outside, the sun was setting, casting long shadows across the Virginia hills. Inside the safe house, a team of 5 prepared for war. And at a hospital 50 miles away, nurses still whispered about the quiet woman who'd worked the night shift, the one who'd saved them all. They called her a hero. They called her a legend. But Sarah Miller knew the truth. She was just a soldier, doing what soldiers do, protecting the innocent, hunting the guilty, and standing between the darkness and the light. The war wasn't over. For Sarah Miller, it had never ended. It had just found her again. And this time, she wasn't running. The end. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story of courage, sacrifice, and the warriors who protect us from the shadows, subscribe now. Because every nurse has a story. Some are just more classified than others.